We're live.
Traffic problems, growth problems, Pinterest strategy, Pinterest scheduling,
No
SEO questions, keyword
way.
questions. We got it all in this Ask Me Anything. You asked your audience for questions, and they sent us so many good questions, and we're
So
going
many
to
good
answer them
ones.
today.
Yeah, they actually sent us so many good questions that I was able to content plan for the next several weeks, if not months, based on the
Amazing.
questions that they submitted.
So good. Can I just take a second and appreciate how awesome our audiences are? I have been in pre-launch right now for my next launch of HLC, and I'm getting so many good questions back from the emails I'm sending.
Yeah,
And the fact that you asked your audience what questions they have about these things and they sent you like dozens of them. Like, I'm so grateful to the people who follow me, follow you, watch you, and like engage with us. I hear so many people out there saying, like, oh, my audience doesn't engage with me. My audience is dead, like whatever. And
yeah,
like, we have like the opposite. We have the best people, the best
I
people.
do. Yeah, we really do have a really great community that we built,
Yeah,
and we worked really hard to build that community of people, and we've put in a
yeah,
lot of work,
true.
a lot of nurturing, and this is what happens when you do those things. So if
Yeah.
you are watching this
Mhm.
because you're like, oh, I've got problems, I don't know what to do, well, stick around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This is
we've kind
gonna, yeah, it's gonna be like a troubleshooting AMA here, I think.
Yeah, so we've kind of
Okay.
broken our AMA up into a few buckets. So our first segment is traffic and growth. And the first question, I'm going to actually pose this one to Jana, is I pin a blog post or a YouTube video at least once per day. I also save at least one pin per day. I see daily growth and have seen about 7.8 to 7.9 thousand monthly views, but then the number reduces, sometimes significantly. I can't seem to get past that number. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, great question. And of course, all the questions that we're going to answer today, we're going to answer them with the information we have, and we don't have all the information. So just as kind of like a caveat there, based on what you've shared with me, that the question you're asking is, what am I doing wrong? So I want to start with what you're doing right real quick, and then we'll talk about what you might be doing wrong. So pinning a blog post or a YouTube video at least once a day, that's your video or your blog post, so good. That's awesome. Like I just want to say, like, great job on that, that type of consistency, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not literally every day, if you're doing it most days, like, that's so good. So great job. And then you said you're saving at least one pin per day. So I'm assuming when you say saving at least one pin per day, you're talking about other people's pins that you're saving to your boards in addition to that. I don't think you need to do that every day systematically, but it's okay if you want to. So if you're looking for places to kind of cut corners a little bit with your cut corners isn't right, but if you want to like reduce the amount of time you're spending on your workflow, you could maybe pin other people's pins only a few times a week instead of every day, just as like a an answer to a question you didn't even ask. And as far as seeing daily growth, and you're up to like 7.8 or 7.9 monthly K monthly views, that's great, but it's also not really the number that is probably the most important to you. So I don't know exactly how you're monetizing on Pinterest or what your goals are, but for most people's goals, that number isn't the most important number. It would be more important to look at things like your engagement. For example, how many saves are you getting? And then the most important thing to look at would be outbound clicks for most people. Again, I'm assuming that what you're doing is you want people clicking from Pinterest over to your YouTube videos, over to your blog posts. So I would want to know how many outbound clicks you're getting every month. And I would actually prefer to know that number than the number of monthly views, because monthly views just really isn't that important a number. And then as far as what you're doing wrong, I think the number one thing I would say you're doing wrong is you're looking at that number, that 7.8 and 7.9, and you're putting too much credence in it, and you're expecting it to grow up, 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 up every month. And that's not really usually how it works. And it really isn't how it works if you're pinning a lot of other people's pins. Because what happens is that number also reflects the number of views that all those pins that you're pinning of other people's are getting. And it's very normal for that number to go up and down, up and down, up and down based on seasonality. Maybe you have a pin, either it's your pin or it could even be someone else's pin that has like a little mini viral run for a couple months, but then it like stops and that mini viral run normalizes and now you're back down to like 3.4K views or something like that. if you saw that, it wouldn't be bad necessarily, especially if your outbound clicks are still steady. So I would just say, like, don't put too much credence in that monthly views number, first of all. Know that it's normal for it to go up and down, and also know that it probably includes those other people's pins that you're pinning, which don't really, the number of times those are getting viewed doesn't really make a big difference to the bottom line for your business. So get clear on what you want to see for your numbers and look at something different than monthly views. That would be my best advice. Heather, what do you think? Did I miss anything?
No. To kind of harp on the sometimes that number reduces significantly piece
Yeah.
is one thing that you can do is go into your analytics and look at the time frame when you were up, narrow in on when the drop happened, then narrow your date range down to when the drop happened, and compare the top pins for the window before and the window after to see if it was your pins that were losing reach or those other people's pins that you're pinning to your boards that are losing reach. Chances are it's just a pin that has like it's gone through its lifespan on Pinterest of what Pinterest is willing to serve right now. It's just they're serving it, maybe it's not getting engagement anymore. So they pull back on serving that piece of content, or it could be seasonally out of date now. It could be that they realize it's a low quality piece of content, and that's no shade to you if you created that pin. There's so many reasons why something loses steam. It just means that we need to look, observe, and either reiterate or broaden our keyword strategy, broaden our board strategy, broaden our content strategy. I think too many people get caught up in, oh, well, I have this one pin and I want to pin it 52 times this week. How many boards can I pin it to, or how many keywords do I need to use? Like getting caught up in way too much of that and not looking at the data itself and letting the data lead you. So what Jana said, and look at the data.
Right.
What is
They
it
can
telling
like
you?
drill
What
down to it more specifically if you really want to.
Yeah, what story is it
Hmm.
telling you?
Hmm.
Okay, so the next question in the traffic and growth problems section of today's AMA is, I'm determined to be successful at this. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to be a winner? And the number one piece of advice I would tell you to be a winner is you have to start foundationally with keywords and
Hmm.
a good keyword strategy. You can't just
Yeah.
like have concepts of a keyword strategy. You have to have the
Concepts of a plan of a
you
keyword
have to
strategy.
have the keyword strategy, and that
Yeah.
means it's going to feed into your board strategy. Your board strategy is then going to advise the pin strategy and the creatives that's going to go on those boards. And then it kind of blossoms out from there. So I actually am planning on, I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after, there's going to be a video coming out in the next 2 weeks that is the difference in Pinterest SEO between boards and pins. So keep an eye on this channel
Mm,
for that answer in more depth and
good
how you can
topic.
prioritize both.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so true. Like, it's normal to start a Pinterest strategy without having a strong keyword strategy. So if you did that, it's okay. But if you really want to win at Pinterest, like you want to at some point do a good keyword strategy, which
you have
means well,
to.
keyword research, keyword list, use your keywords the right way. So
Hmm.
that video you're going to make about the difference between SEO for Pinterest pins versus Pinterest boards is going to be really helpful for this person and anyone else who has the same goal to win on Pinterest, which I know is most of the people who watch this.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, exactly.
Great
You
question.
have to have it. You have to have it. And you honestly, these days I'm starting to think that you have to have more than just like, 25 keywords that you're targeting. You need to
Mm,
diversify. You need to bring
yeah.
in other angles and the ways that people are searching for things. So you
Yeah.
really have to get to know, like intimately get to know your product, the problems it solves for, the
Yep.
solutions that you're offering, and really dial in on that.
Yeah.
And then expand that out in your marketing strategy.
Hmm.
Okay,
Good.
so the next segment, Jana, is called pinning strategy and scheduling. And we have three
Okay.
questions that we highlighted in this section that we want to answer. So the first question is, I'm going to take the first question. I'm going to give you the next two because the first question is, it's so easy, okay? Native scheduler on Pinterest which I really want to get away from using the word native because it feels a little not kosher anymore. Integrated Pinterest scheduler or Metricool slash any other third-party scheduling tools. And it doesn't matter. That's the short answer, is it does not matter because they all are API approved these days, the third-party tools, and they all do the same job with a different interface. So how would you prefer to get your pins live on Pinterest for free? Or do you need a tool because that's going to be what helps you to do your marketing on Pinterest and Instagram, Facebook and TikTok and Threads and X and Blue Sky and every other platform you want to show up on? That's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
And I don't think that it really gets more complicated than that.
Right. So just looking at what tools you have at your disposal in your scheduling tool and whether you want to pay for those and whether they make enough of a difference to your workflow that it's worth paying for them. But as far as like results in terms of reach and how well a pin does and everything, it doesn't matter whether it's scheduled natively with a lowercase n,
Yeah,
or via a third-party tool that's API approved.
correct.
Yep. Yeah. I like
Okay.
I use Later to do a lot of my pins, but I also
Mhm.
schedule natively with a lowercase n. Um, I do both. And I use Later
Yeah,
when
I
I
do
want to
too.
schedule more than 30 days out, and I use the native scheduler when I want to do a quickie, basically, and I just
So
want to get it out there. So,
historically speaking, I have used the Pinterest scheduler for products that I wanted to do product tagging on, anything that I wanted to do like affiliate tagging on those pins. And I also historically used it for videos. However, the third-party schedulers have gotten better in
yeah.
the amount of server space that they're allowing for, the quality of output with videos, um, and the new API integrations that they're making with Pinterest, including product tagging, which one of the big tools is going to have soon. So
Wow.
then you don't even have to have a third-party scheduler, or you don't even have to use the, integrated Pinterest scheduler anymore if you don't want to. You can use a third party for
How about
everything if you wanted to.
how about the built-in Pinterest scheduler? Pinterest's own built-in scheduler.
Just Pinterest scheduler.
Okay.
Um, okay,
Let-
question number two in pinning strategy and scheduling is for Jenna. What's the minimum number of pins per day, per week, or per month that is enough for getting seen?
Oh my God, this is such a hard question. Okay, so this is a really hard question because there's really no answer, to be
There's no
honest,
answer.
right? It's like there really isn't an answer. People really want me to say like one a day or three a week or something like that, but there's no definite answer. And even okay, so there's no definite answer because everybody's different and everybody's businesses are different and everybody's strategies are different. But even if you gave me all of the data and the facts for one person's business and their strategy and everything, and you asked me that question for that particular person, there's still no me. There's still no
Yeah.
real answer. And so my best advice when it comes to this is don't worry about that. Don't obsess about this idea of like what's minimum viable. Like what do I need to do to see results? Jana, tell me how many pins per day to see results because there is no right answer. And if someone tells you a right answer, they are basically making something up. And I just want to say too
Mhm.
that like there's nothing wrong with making something up in the right context. I have
Mhm.
done this and you'll see this in my content and in my courses where I give you a number, but I very specifically say, I'm not giving you this number because it's foolproof and it's going to work no matter what. I'm
Yeah.
giving you this number just so you have a number so that you
Yep.
can start somewhere and give yourself a goal or a quota or something to start with. Because otherwise, people who are new to Pinterest might be like, yeah, but Jana, do I pin, one pin a week or do I pin 10 pins a day? Like, where do I need to fall? And people need some kind of number. But no matter what number that is and where I get that number, it's still not the only right answer. There's no right or wrong answer here.
Yeah.
So, the more frequently you can pin, the more you're going to give your pins a chance to become the pin that becomes the legacy pin, which is kind of like what we call going viral on Pinterest. We don't really say viral. So it's good to pin more versus less, but at the same time, if you bite off too much, then you can chew, and then you start to like like not be able to do what you said you're going to do and then you like feel bad about it and then you just stop altogether, that's
Yeah.
not good either. So it's really about picking a number that feels like you can stick to it pretty consistently and you don't have to be perfect with your number. It's okay if it's not super consistent as long as you're kind of doing that number more often than you're not. Um, and I will say that with my audience, who are service-based businesses typically, who don't have a lot of time for marketing, I'm recommending that they're pinning anywhere between like 3 pins a week and 1 pin a day. And if they tell me they can do more than that, then that's fine. You totally
Yeah.
can do more than that as long as you're not sacrificing the quality. And when I say
Yeah.
sacrificing the quality, I mean, I don't want you pinning 2 pins a day and slapping them up there without keywords or without thought to the keywords. I would rather have you pin less frequently, but be more intentional about your keywords and more intentional about good design with your pins. But really, at the end of the day, there isn't any one answer to this question.
Yeah.
But you can work with either figure it out yourself from our free content, or you can ask one of us if you have access to one of us. Like if you're inside HLC, my program, you can ask me on one of our calls or in my Facebook group. If you're in Heather's membership, you can ask her.
Yep.
And you can ask us to talk you through an idea of like, how should you figure out that number for your business? And then you can figure out that number, but it's always just going to be like a goal for you or a guidepost. It's never going to be like like if you pin this many pins per day or per week, you will succeed, or if you pin less than this, you won't succeed. That's just not the way it works. But we're happy to help you if you have access to us directly to come up with a number that is going to make sense for you that you can feel good about and stick to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question for you, ma'am, is
Yeah.
how many different pin templates are necessary?
Yeah.
Keyword being necessary.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, again, it's sort of the same, but as what I just said a second ago, like it doesn't, there's not going to be one number, but I would probably say if this was like rapid fire style, I would say have at least 5 or 6 different pin templates. And that's based on, and more would be great too, but that would be based on
Yeah.
my experience with the cadences that I teach my students to create on Pinterest. So if you're pinning at the rate and at the cadence that most of my students who are coaches and service providers, and they're trying to get clients using Pinterest, that's their end result or end goal. If you're using my methods and my cadence, then you probably need to have at least 5, maybe 6 different pin templates that you can cycle through so that your pins don't look too repetitive.
And my answer to this is the more the merrier, but keep them cohesive in your brand. So
Okay.
use the same, like you don't always have to use the same colors if you don't want to. You could definitely stray off the color path, but try to use the same elements across pins. So if you have like an oval call to action button, like try to bring that through pins and the backgrounds and the different frames and things that you use that will make the graphics like it'll
Kind
make it
of.
look like it's from the same person and not
Mhm.
from 15 different brands,
Yep.
basically.
Yep. And it also makes it easier to do your weekly, your weekly or your monthly workflow. Your
Your workly workflow.
workly week flow.
Yes.
Because you're not
So
trying to like sub things in all the time or whatever. You
yeah,
have like one call to action button that you can just grab and copy and paste or whatever. Yeah.
I have currently in my brand set of templates in Canva, I think I have 24 different templates.
Hmm.
They're not all for the same purpose either.
Hmm.
So about 6 to 8 of those are for digital products that I sell
Like
or
mock-ups. Hmm.
yeah, free offers that I
Hmm.
have, like all
Yep.
my lead magnets. And then I have another set of them are for blogs and YouTube videos and things like that. So,
Yep.
and then of course the ones that I have that are mock-ups can also be used for courses and vice versa. So it could be for one-off digital products or my membership. But the thing here is to have some variety, but make them cohesively look like they come from the same family.
Hmm.
And um just be iterating on them. You're going to get bored, and that's okay. That's when you take the one template and you change it just slightly, but it still looks like it belongs to the same parents. That's what you're doing. And you can build on these over time. One thing that I don't like to see people doing is, and this happens a lot, especially in Pin Profit Academy, because I have a library of templates that I created over years, is they'll come in and they'll take 10 different template packs and they'll start creating pins from all 10, but none of them look like they belong. And then they're asking themselves, well, why aren't any of these pins getting any traction? Like none of them are getting clicks. Like they get views, but they don't get clicks, or they get views and maybe a save or two, but no one clicks on them. And it's not necessarily the design. Sometimes it's the copy that's the problem.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's the promise that's the problem. But if you don't have a kind of intimate feel for what your brand should visually represent online, it's going to be hard for people to come along with you.
Yeah, and to remember you, to
Yeah, to
associate
remember you too.
certain things with you. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of segment 2. We have segment 3, SEO keywords and optimization. We have 4 questions in this segment. Let me start with the first one. When it comes to keywords, which is most important, pins or boards? Guess what? I have a board. I have a video coming for that.
Yes.
And the short answer is, I already answered it earlier, it's both.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not one or the other. You
Hmm.
shouldn't focus more time on one or the other. You really have to have a holistic strategy for keywords.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just have concepts.
Concepts of brands. Yes.
Jana,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question and then I'm going to do something so funny and you guys cannot make fun of me for it, okay? I'm going to take a drink, but it's going to be out of a teapot because I don't have a cup anywhere near me.
Oh
Okay.
my God, I can't wait. Okay.
Okay, the question is alt text important to be filled in?
You know, it's funny you ask that because here we go. Wait,
I told you I was gonna have a
I gotta take
teapot.
a screenshot. Hold on. I was
Popcorn,
actually, I
Jana.
was thinking about alt text earlier when you were talking about uh, when you were talking about the difference between
My
the
throat is dry.
built-in Pinterest scheduler, formerly known as the artist formerly known as the native scheduler, versus the third-party tools. So the alt text, when you see it there, I know I see it when I'm using the built-in Pinterest scheduler. It can help your SEO, but that's not the purpose of it. And so if you don't have to fill it out, but if you fill it out, you should be describing literally what is in the image.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works well, and sometimes it doesn't work well, especially again for my people who are typically coaches and service-based businesses, because like we're not necessarily doing like a product pin, for example, where a product pin will have a picture of a brown leather backpack. I'm like
Right.
obsessed with Heather's backpack client. Um, like brown leather backpack would be something that you could describe in your alt text because the alt text is actually really there to help visually impaired people know what the
Mhm.
image actually contains. That's what it's supposed to be there for, and that's what you should be using it for. And if you're using it for any other purpose, it's not really the way you're supposed to use it, and I'd prefer that you not use it in a way that it's not meant to be used.
Yeah.
So if your pin literally matches with what people might be searching, then it actually could help a little bit with SEO, right? In that way, if you want to think about it that way. But if your image is more like a lifestyle image, then like it doesn't really help with SEO, but you can still describe what's in it as long as you're doing that literally. Hopefully this makes sense. So for example, let's say your pin is about balancing hormones and you have a picture of a woman who is outside doing yoga in her backyard. And the alt image would be woman doing yoga in backyard. That doesn't really help with the hormone piece of things as far as women who might be looking for information about hormone balancing. But the image is there because it's conveying the feeling that you want people to feel when they think about what it would feel like to diminish the symptoms that come along when your hormones are, you know, creating issues for you or whatever.
Yeah.
So in that way, like that's what it's actually for. And if you're going to use it, you need to use it to literally describe the image.
Hmm.
And it'll help you if the literal image description is consistent with the thing that people search for to find that pin. But if not, then what you don't want to do is put something in there that says like, you know, how to balance your hormones, because that's not what the image is showing. The image is showing a woman in her backyard doing yoga. Um,
So I just put
I hope
in the
that's
chat
helpful. Hmm.
a free alt text tool from Tailwind. You don't have
Oh,
even have to have an account to use the tool. It's totally free.
oh,
But you can also use tools like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever other AI tool you want to use to generate alt text these days. You do not need to do it on your like yourself if you don't want to. And then almost every third-party scheduling software, as well as the Pinterest native scheduler, has a place for alt text. So
no.
use the free tool. It'll generate it for you, and then just stick it in there.
I don't know that I've seen it in later. Maybe it's
It's
there and I
probably
haven't noticed
hidden.
it.
It's
Okay.
probably a bit buried because it's not a setting that a lot of people even use.
Okay. I mean, to me, it doesn't take long to do it manually if you're going to do it. Woman in
Yeah,
backyard doing yoga. I'd rather do that than open up ChatGPT and ask it to tell me what's in this image.
yeah,
But if I put it into the native, I mean, sorry, into the scheduler, the non-native scheduler,
yeah.
and it
And
automatically generated that for me, it would just save me 2 seconds of having to type it in myself
you
and a
know, it
little
would
bit of
be
brain
so
power.
cool if these tools would actually use AI in a way that is
Helpful.
helpful for us and doesn't waste our time.
Well, isn't that, so are they doing that? Are they pre-populating those for you or no?
No, but
Oh.
they have the tool to do it. So it's a matter of just like bringing it in. I feel like it would be fairly easy. I should ask Danny.
Mm.
Um, okay, we have a few questions in chat that I want to address because people are here. They're kind enough to be
Live.
here with us live.
Yes.
Um, LTJ author asks, what is your advice for pinning for authors? That's a really great question, and it is difficult to answer in a lot of ways
Well,
because
it's a big,
authors,
big question. Mhm.
right, authors have totally different businesses from other authors. So if you're a frequent writer, let's say you're an author and you have a series of books and you're a frequent writer on Substack, for example, a really great way to bring your work along to Pinterest, aside from your books, is to make pins for your Substack articles. Um, that's a really easy way to bring in your everyday work that you're putting out there. And then also making pins for your books. And you probably have book mock-ups, you probably have photography of your books, but making boards around the categories of the book. So if you write romance books, for example, write or create boards around romance books, book lists, books to read. And then how do people read books? Do they read them on a Kindle or physical book? Do they read them? They listen to them? In what situations are they reading books? Do they need a book for travel? Do they need a book for public transit? Like, be thinking about the ways that people are consuming your content, and you can create boards and avenues to your products, the books, and maybe the free articles that you write elsewhere in that way. So, LTJ
Yeah.
author, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, those are a few
Something to think about.
like tactics that we've seen people do that work. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it comes back to looking at your particular ecosystem. Like, what do you have now? How is your website structured? Do you have pages for different books? Do you have a blog that you're writing about the topics of the books? Do you have like what do you have currently? How do you market now? And how can you use Pinterest to amplify that? And then how can you use Pinterest to create new ways of reaching people, but based on the specifics of your business and what you already have set up that you can like amplify, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be different for so many different people, but those are a couple of good tactics that you just mentioned that I've also seen authors use that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question that's in the chat is from Miss Danielle, and she says, I'm realizing that impressions go down the less that you interact with the platform. How does that work? For example,
Mm,
my Christmas pin keeps going down in impressions. Well, that's not how it works, actually.
mm-mm,
The reason why it's going down in impressions is because the demand for Christmas content is going down.
mm-hmm.
We're in March and people are not looking for Christmas content right now in March. However, that doesn't mean they won't be looking for it in April or June or August, right? Because people plan on Pinterest early. So the reason why your impressions are going down over time for Christmas is because there's less demand for that topic the further you get away from Christmas. Even the closer you get to Christmas, you'll start to see those impressions going down because people have already switched gears to New Year's, Valentine's Day, etc. So
Yeah,
you're thinking generally about 90 days in advance of the next thing.
mhm. Um, and your engagement with the platform, and I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Danielle, but generally when people say engaging with the platform, they mean being on the platform, saving other people's pins. I guess you could say commenting is part of that too, but it's not a big part of the culture on Pinterest in most
It's not
niches, and some it
weighted
is.
in
Right.
engagement the same way that clicks and saves are.
Right. And that actually that activity doesn't typically correspond to the number of views or impressions that you're getting. Would you say that's accurate, Heather? That's not really
It can
okay.
actually. Comments on pins do count as engagement, but they don't have the same engagement weight to my understanding. This was a study that
That is
Tailwind did a number
go
of
ahead.
over a number of months, and they analyzed billions of pins and they analyzed
I
all of
remember.
the different factors, and comments was one of them. And they did notice that like any number of engagement is good. It's like even bad press is good press, right? So,
But
um,
that's people commenting on your pins. If you're spending
yes,
time commenting on other people's pins
not,
or
yeah,
pinning other
absolutely.
people's pins, that's not really going to drive your own visibility.
Yeah.
What drives visibility is actually good quality, content, visually engaging pins, and having keywords that people are searching for.
Okay, we're running short on time, so I want to make sure that we get to
Okay.
everybody. I have one more question from the chat I want to answer right now, and then we're going to go back to our pre-selected list. That
Okay.
was our pre-submitted list.
Mhm.
Um, Marcia says, is it okay to just have a blog on Substack, or should it be on my website to get better reach when people search? So here's the thing, Marcia, you can create a Substack and you can claim your domain. So you could buy like marshalynhudson.com, and you can set your Substack up to be hosted on that. And you can do some SEO the same way that you could be on Wix or Weebly or whatever other platforms are on the internet. I think it depends on what your level of tech is. Now, when it comes to writing newsletters and having an email list, Jana might have different views.
Yeah, I mean, I generally speaking, and you have to remember that I work with people who are coaches and service providers.
Yeah.
I want your blog on your own website. If there's a way that when you're on your website and you go to the upper right-hand corner and it says blog or articles or something like that, that you automatically are going to like a Substack that's, I don't know if embedded is the right word, but it's like cohesive with your website.
Yeah.
That's something new that I hadn't heard about until Heather, you just mentioned it. You're always
Mhm.
you're always on the cutting edge of things. Then I would consider that. But I want my students in high leverage content to have their blogs on their website for a bunch of reasons.
Mhm.
And one of them is just proximity to your paid offers because I want people to be able to read your blog and be on your website so that they can do things like opt into your list and look at your sales pages and your service pages and follow the calls to action with very little friction. And
Yeah.
I think whenever you are putting content on a platform that you don't own, you're always creating more friction for people to be able to get somehow from that platform to your website. And so I
I think
want there to
that's
be
a
less friction there,
I think
like with
that's a
social
really
media.
good point. I think that's a really good point, is a
Thank you.
platform that you own. And I think that's one of the ticks in the box of Marcia, you should have your own website, and Substack can be a place where you write alternatively.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
that
of Substack as
would,
like it's like social media from my perspective.
yeah,
It's just long form social media. So if you want to add another social media channel, by all means, right? But it's not going to
yeah.
replace a blog. Sorry, I cut you off, Heather.
No, that's okay. Okay, let's get back to our pre-submitted list. Um, we are let's move on to content strategy, blogging, and monetization, because we have a few questions in there that we marked that we wanted to answer. Um, First question is, what is the best way to structure blog posts for Pinterest viewers?
That's mine. Okay.
That's for you.
Yeah, so that's definitely a big question. And inside my program, High Leverage Content, we have 9 types of blog posts that we write.
Hmm.
Those are my 9 and 2 content pillars. They're the things that your audience needs to feel ready to buy your offer because we write blog posts about things that prepare people to be ready to buy your offer. And so each one of those 9 blog post types has a different structure. But I'll share one of them. And I think this works really well for Pinterest because when people find you on Pinterest, it's usually not because they already know you. It's a great way to get discovered by new people who are searching for keywords or have looked for things that are similar to the content that you create. That's why Pinterest is showing them your content. So they're usually new to you, which means they're a little bit colder traffic than, say, someone who is going to your blog from social media where they already follow you, or going to your blog because you sent out an email to your list where they obviously already kind of are getting to know you, right? And that email links to your blog. So Pinterest is generally considered to be a little bit colder in terms of the type of leads that you're getting from Pinterest, right? They need more warming up. So one of the ways we structure blog posts, we're structuring all the blog posts to basically pre-sell and warm people up quickly.
Hmm.
That's kind of like the whole point of my program. So when we write a blog post that explores a problem that people are experiencing, that they know they're experiencing, and that they know they want to solve, not a problem that you think they have, but a problem that they know they have. That's
Yeah.
important. The way we structure it is this is really, really high level, but we do like an introduction and a hook, or a hook and an introduction. Part of the introduction is like kind of giving them a little bit of like letting them off the hook a little bit on the problem, like showing some empathy. Like
Yep.
you're not the only one that has the problem, or there's this thing going on culturally in our culture right now that makes it so a lot of people have this problem. Here's what it is, and you're not the only one, something like that. Talking about what that problem feels like, what it's going to feel like when they solve it, things like that. And then we get into what I call the meat of the blog, where you're sharing 3 different strategies, or ways or ideas or steps. It's some kind of like tactical stuff that you're sharing with them that helps to solve that problem. Not that's going to solve all their problems for them in that one blog post, but puts them on the right path. And that's where your thought leadership comes in. Like, how do you help people solve this problem in your offer? And I make sure when you are outlining that at least 1 or 2 of those are things you do in your offer so that you're able to talk about your offer in the context of the blog post way, way before the end at the call to action. So we do those, and then we have a section where we answer like common questions that might be coming up in their brain based on reading all this. So it's kind of like a place to bust up objections as you're going. And then we do a conclusion and then a call to action that includes like a pitch for whatever you want them to do next, whether it's to buy your offer, sign up for a discovery call, apply to work with you, whatever it is for you for the next, step in your sales process.
Yeah.
So when you structure a blog post that way, it's going to be very Pinterest friendly because it's going to take people from, oh, I just found this person, they look interesting, to, okay, I know what kinds of problems they solve, how they do it. I know what they offer. A lot of people write blog posts and they never even talk about what they offer. That's crazy. You need
Yeah.
to talk about what you offer.
Crazy.
Um, so I hope that helps a little bit. I'm not sure it's exactly how what the intention of that question was, but that's where my brain goes when I think about that question. So
Yeah. Okay, next question is, I haven't started a blog yet for my business. Can I start? Oh wait, I haven't started a blog yet or my business account on Pinterest. Can I start both immediately, or should I build up blog posts first so there are more things to look at when I start pinning those posts?
such a good
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
that one was for you.
Okay. So I think that there's no one right answer here.
There's not.
And I've had students do it in all different ways. I've had them do both at the same time, where they're building their Pinterest and they're building their blog. It's interesting because I have 2 courses that I sell. One is high leverage content, where you build your blog and you learn how to
Hmm.
leverage it to get clients. And then the other one is, my Pinterest with Purpose course. So you can start in either place, and there are benefits of starting in either place. If I had to pick one answer and someone was like, you have to say one thing, I would say start your blog, or at least do your blog content plan. So inside of HLC, we have 3 phases of the course. The first one is where you choose your topics. So you're choosing the topics based on what your audience needs to feel ready to buy your offer. And you're choosing all your blog topics. And then the second phase is where we write the blog posts and we structure them in the way similar to what I just described for that question before. And then the third phase is how do you repurpose and share your content, your blog content on repeat so that you don't have to keep creating new blog posts. You just use the capsule blog that we create in HLC to get clients over and over again.
Yep.
So, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, If you do your blog content plan first and now you know all your topics, that can be really helpful because the way I like to do keyword search research, ideally on Pinterest for my type of audience, coaches and service providers, is to find 10 to 12 long tail keywords for each blog post. That way, you know that the boards you create and the pins, keywords that you're using are aligned with your blog content. Um, However, I've also seen people do it where first they do their Pinterest board setup and their keyword research, and that helps them find keywords people are searching on Pinterest about their topics, and it gives them kind of information about like what people are commonly searching for.
Yeah.
And so that can help when you're deciding what your topics are. So you can do it either way. If I really had to choose for someone and they were a coach or a service provider who's my type of client, I would say at least plan out your blog topics first. Then you can start building your Pinterest account around your blog topics while you're writing
Mhm.
your blogs. So that's
Yeah.
that's my answer to that. I hope that that's helpful
So
for the person who asked.
one of my biggest pet peeves
Hmm.
in all of my business life is when people create Pinterest accounts and then create the business. Like it's okay to do that. But if you don't know what your business is and you don't know what you're selling and you don't know who the audience is that's buying what you're selling, how are you going to create marketing for it? So my answer is what Jana's is plan out the blog content or the
Already have a blog.
content,
Yeah.
yes, strategy in the business before you even think about marketing.
Hmm.
So if you don't have a foundation, then how are you ever going to grow in a way that's even remotely scalable?
Yeah. And I feel like there's two different kinds of people that I see a lot coming into high leverage content. I mean, there's lots of different ways to slice and dice the audience, but
Sure.
some of my students who come in, they already have a very clear picture of their business. They know their messaging, they know their ideal client.
Yeah.
Like they already have it all nailed and they come into HLC, they sail through the first part because it's kind of already there for them. And they get right to writing their blog posts with my structures. And those blog posts convert better than the old ones that they wrote because they didn't have structures before, or a lot of them were writing for SEO, but they weren't writing for conversion. And then I also have people come in who have an idea of what they're offering, but it's not crystal clear to them yet. And the process I teach of choosing the blog topics actually helps clarify so much for people.
Mm.
So again, either way, like building your blog can clarify that for you. Building your Pinterest account can clarify it for you. But yeah, it's like, coming in and creating a Pinterest profile when you don't know what you're pinning to yet. You don't know what your blogs are that you're pinning to, or your offers, or your landing pages, or your YouTube videos. It's gonna
Yeah.
be, it's gonna be, you're gonna end up pivoting your Pinterest account,
You're
and
going
that's
to
okay. It's okay,
probably
but you're gonna
pivoting your
pivot
business too, if you even still have one. Okay, couple more questions
it.
before we wrap it up for today because we are at about 40 minutes
Oh my
now.
gosh. Yeah.
Um, we have other things to do today with our lives.
Yeah.
So I'm just kidding.
Looking at
I'm
my
totally
to-do
kidding,
list
guys.
over here. Yeah. As fun
I
as
do have
this
a
is.
to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay. Question is for me. Can you tell me more about shoppable tags? And does that include images that are highlighted when you hover over certain items that you can buy?
Okay.
Yes. In fact, the new iteration of those shoppable tags that highlight when you hover over them, that's some of the new AI features that Pinterest is integrated in and built out on the platform. And if you notice when you're interacting with any pins on Pinterest where they'll like shimmy and shake almost, and
Yeah, I've
then they'll
seen
like
that. Yeah.
highlight, and then if you click on it, it'll actually open up a search result of related products related to the image that you are specifically looking at. So a couple different ways you can go about doing this. Number one, you can create those collage pins either on desktop or on mobile these days, where you can create multiple like you know imaged pins. A collage, I guess, is a good way to phrase that. And then those products that you use to create your tags, or the tags that you use to create the product pins to then create the collage, is what becomes those highlighted like shimmy shaky pins that you're seeing. Now you can also just create standard run-of-the-mill Pinterest pins in Canva and use the product tagging feature in the Pinterest scheduler, the native Pinterest scheduler right inside your dashboard. and you can tag your products in there, and then those will then go on to become shoppable tags, and they will behave in a similar fashion. So
Interesting.
you can do this with products from your own store. You can do it with products from your Etsy shop. I've even seen it work with products from TPT, which is Teachers Pay Teachers, for the teachers in the room. And then if you have affiliate links. So I know one of
Hmm,
my affiliate bloggers is watching today. That is something that he can do. Okay,
cool.
really quick question from the chat. We're gonna move into rapid fire. So this will be a good rapid fire one, Jana. Okay, you can answer this one. Is it okay to combine two niches in one blog? For example, home decor and fashion.
I don't really help people who monetize fashion and um, what was the other one?
Home decor.
Home decor blogs. So can I throw that one back to you? I don't know how to
Sure.
answer that.
Okay, so my answer would be yes, but there needs to be a through line where there is some sort of similarity between the two niches. So is the through line sustainability and
Ooh, yeah.
choosing locally sourced or like ethically sourced products? Because if that's the through line, then it probably would make sense that those could both be on the same blog. Because if that person like me is buying ethically sourced cotton t-shirts, I probably also care about ethically sourced home decor.
Yeah. Cool.
So that was a good rapid fire. Okay, another rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I was like, I don't know. Can you do it?
The fastest answer you'll ever get from Jana.
Yeah.
Pinning time gaps per URL, best
Mm.
practices 7 days or 14 days apart. Do you have any opinions on pinning gaps?
Oh, goodness. It depends. This is going to be a hard one
It
for
doesn't
rapid
matter.
fire. Yeah. I mean, the only thing is you want to be careful you're not being too repetitive, but if you're pinning other pins in between them, 7 days is fine. And if you're pinning other pins between them, 14 days is fine.
Yeah. I honestly, I think this is it's one of those things that it's like people are usually asking this question because they want to pin the same pin, or they want to pin the same pin to multiple boards, or they want to pin the same URL over and over and over. And it's like, well, what about all the other things that you have in
Yeah.
your business to pin about? Let's incorporate those in, and maybe just like 7 days apart. Start there and see what happens. Okay, our last question of the day. Is it okay to pin the same URL to the same board with a different graphic?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I am going to send this out to my email list as soon as we're done. We got so many really good questions, guys, that we want to do another one of these. Okay,
Yeah.
I got one more. Hang on. Is
Okay.
my question on your list how to connect and sell blogging and Pinterest into one strategy? I want to sell both in one framework. Simone, are you talking about you do Pinterest marketing and you teach blogging strategy? Is that what you're saying?
If your answer is yes, you can, I mean, both of
Do
us do
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, it is totally possible to combine them. I teach both. Heather teaches both.
Yeah. If the answer is no, and you're talking about how to connect Pinterest to blogging, then I think this whole live might answer some of your questions.
Yeah, if that's the case, then it's kind of like, well, you're going to pin your blog posts. You're going to pin them regularly with new images. And then all of the best practices that we teach, that Heather teaches on this channel, and that she teaches in her membership, and that I teach in my 2 courses,
Yep.
would definitely like be the strategies that we would teach you if you decided to learn from us, in terms of how to
Yeah.
connect the blog to Pinterest.
Okay, really quick before we get going, we have a live coming up on how to get ROI on a blog as a service provider. That's next week's live. So if you guys are interested in that topic, we will be chatting about it next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard, Eastern Daylight, Eastern Daylight.
Eastern, whatever we are right
Whatever
now.
it is in the US right now, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
10 a.m. next Wednesday. We'll
Hmm.
see you to talk about that. And we'll chat with you next time. Bye.
Bye.
And we're out. Okay,
Whew.
cool.
Wow.